Hello, this is Wie Gehts with Academy Games, and behind the camera we have Jim Schoch. And today we are going to talk about quality issues that we're seeing from China. We're going to cover vacuum forming, cards, and most important, map boards. In the last few months, we've seen more and more problems with map boards warping. I just came from a distributor show. Every single game I saw, the boards were warping. Now, it's not a big issue if you have a smaller board or a solid board or one that folds out and there's no two boards coming together like our Conflict of Heroes boards. But even when they wrap up 3-4 millimeters and you're trying to put your playing pieces or your cubes or your marking cubes on it and they're up and you just hit one of the tilted up edges, they jump off spot, you lose what you were marking. Very frustrating. We've seen the quality coming out of China in the last roughly 18 months starting to get worse and worse and worse. And I'm going to go into some details of what we found out, why this is, the solutions we found, and also some of the different type of drying processes that can be done. So first thing I want to go through is our Storm Steel has been delayed. We were going to ship in December. Everything for these games were done in mid-November. We got the printer's proof sent to us. The map boards were sent to us, and they were horrible. We're going to pan over to the other side of my office, and you'll see horrible. So we decided we're not going to put out trash like that. We have to have the quality. We made the printer destroy 10,000 map sets. They were a little frustrated, but we're a good customer and they understand quality is number one with our customers. We specified it before it came out. They're stuck with 10,000. So, but that's the last thing I want to go through because I'm going to go to some of my work tables over there. Next, vacuum forming. Our old games came with nice big solid trays. All of our games, we love trays so that when you put it sideways, up and down, everything stays nicely where it should be. But we then decided we want to have a tray for the German player, a tray for the Soviet player for these games, and then a tray where your cards go in plus the hit counters in the middle. 3 trays. Now notice the first thing we've seen a lot coming out of China and how we received them the first time. Notice how it's not flat. And Jim's going to kind of get in on that. And this is an extreme method sample we found. We usually like our PVC to be roughly around 1 millimeter. And if you have a very big piece with a very thick, clear portion, all the way even up to 1.5 mil of the base material. A lot of the Chinese printers, to save price and to save money for themselves, will start going in thinner type of PVCs. And what happens, and you'll see a lot of games, look at the games you have, the welds, the corners, you can just push them in, they'll pop in, they'll break, they'll split. Cheap quality. Now, if they pull out and try to do the speed too quick, these are vacuum formed. A piece of sheet is heated up, gets sucked down over the mold form, and that then gives you your form. If they pull it out too quickly and don't let it dry quick enough, then you can get issues like this, that it'll shrink in as it's cooling. So you have to keep it on the mold just half a second, 3/4 second longer so that it locks into place in the size that it was designed to have. So you don't have issues where this top portion, which again they made too thin on the first run, only 1 mil, pulls the bottom portion up because they pulled this out because they're trying to get things going so too quickly. So publishers, as you see your manufacturing samples come in, if you see things like that, immediately tell your molder. First thing, tell them to turn the cycle time down a little. Secondly, maybe a little thicker on the top. And if you're getting cruddy corners on the bottom where they're not nice and hard like this, they're trying to save money. Because as you push down and you have these deep welds, the deeper the well, the thinner your corner materials are going to be. So you got to make sure, number one, that it's warm enough when it starts the heat treating or the process of getting sucked in, and secondly, let it cool long enough before it ejects. Next, let's look at cards. We've been seeing more and more issues with cards. Some printers good, some are bad. The edges, if you look, you don't want to have any type on a dark edge, any type of white from bad cuts. I've seen more and more games coming in, inconsistent cuts, where the die cuts are dull. The edges push up, where your top cards have all kinds of markings in them. The quality is getting worse in many cases. Your good companies really watch out for it. You have to watch out for it also. Notice on our cards, we want the edges to be all consistent in width. We even have troubles, as much as our quality control goes through, that one edge will be narrower than the other, or the card will be slightly crooked. So much junk coming through. So what we decided on this with our Storm of Steel, we went out and we've done a lot of research, and we are now going with a very high 0.35 mil PVC cards. These cards give beautiful, and Jim, I don't know if you can get in closer on these, but the depth and color depth is phenomenal. They are not slidey, slippery like cheaper cards. There's a very light coarseness to it, surface finish to it on both sides. You don't want one with finish on one and none on the other, because they'll just slide all over the place. Notice, these cards do not slide, which is nice for these type of games. Other games I've seen, you get a deck of cards and they're just slippery. These are not. Number two, why we like them, you bend a card, flip it up, it's straight. Good PVCs, the good ones, have this. Thirdly, your color penetration. Your blacks and dark colors should be black and really dark. Your lights should be nice and light, very crisp. Don't go for fuzziness. They'll say, oh, it's plastic, it's the surface finish. No, just means they're cheap. We went through 3 different main card manufacturers out of China till we found this one. If you're interested, give me a call. I'll give you their name. Wonderful to work with, quality number 1. You can get them 0.25 or 0.35. I like 0.35. This is a deck of the plastic. These are a deck of our 305 pound paper. Notice the plastic is thicker even than the 305 paper, which is one of the thickest out there. Some will even go 320, but those are those really, really stiff ones that you can't shuffle. So these are the best, highest quality black core French paper, and these are even thicker. Highly recommend it. Another thing. We tested these with friction tests. We friction rubbed these things for 3 minutes at a time as hard as we could push, and we got no problems. We used glass oven top cleaning scouring pads on these. They held their color. So a lot of them, they won't hold their color, but it is possible. So we're very excited. The cost is about 40 to 50% higher than normal cards. Be prepared. But if you're doing any type of quantities of 5, 6, 7,000 to 10, 15,000, the cost comes down. Still 56% higher than cardboard, but we feel for the quality you're getting, it's well worth it. Now, let's look at the map boards. Map boards, notice these map boards. They are flat. There is nothing. We've had these now since mid-November when they sent us the map boards that they sent us. These are 2 millimeter thick core board with coating on both sides. This is a German board. Now I'm going to show you what we were sent from China, and this is from our Chinese manufacturer here. So, German. Look at these edges. And let me know, Jim, when you see these. Can you see, and these are radical. We've had the heat going up and down. It's roughly around 20 degrees outside today, very dry. And then we had the heat pump up to get really changes in temperature. So I had the windows open, let it get real cold, go to heat, and that's the quickest way, cycling. I got it down in my office maybe at around 45 degrees this morning, and then heat it back up to 68. And look at this. Horrible, unacceptable. Now, for a lot of games out there, you'll see this. This is standard. So when I have two of these together, this is unacceptable for our Conflict of Heroes games. And even a game by itself, let's say I have my counter set up here. You hit this, things move, especially if it's a smaller board. If I'm playing, let's say, Terraforming Mars or something, where I have a lot of things, and I don't have one of those handy-dandy new trays that they're selling nowadays where everything fits in. So why is this happening? When the core board is made, the paper fibers are extruded on sheets. And when the extrusion property, the pulling of the paper mash coming down on the extrusion belt, it aligns the paper fibers more in one direction than the other. So you have very aligned paper fibers. These paper fibers, of course, will shrink more in their lengthways than side to side. So if this was extruded, and just the way this is bowing up, I can tell this was extruded in this direction. Okay? So the Germans, they came out, and they have some patents, I've been told, where on these outside ones you can see, these have been sitting out for over a month now. These also over a month and a half really. And we've been cycling through, trying different things. And the Germans have like a, they scatter the fiber on, like almost like a, water, what do you call in the yards? The water sprinklers. So it's random. Like almost like you see in plywood. On each plywood piece is just pieces in any direction, and then they have several layers. Well, the Chinese can't do that. So what we've noticed in the last year and a half to last year, more and more boards seem to be warping more than they used to. And that seems to be across the Chinese market. Now, in Germany, the prices of core board are going up, up, up. In China, you don't see that. So put two and two together. The Chinese have low labor rates, but their raw material rates are just as high as like in America or in China. So what we talked with the printers and everything, they're saying they don't know what's happening. They're paying the same amount like they used to, maybe a little more, but across the board, they're noticing it also. We think they're getting them all from the same distributors, the main paper mill distributors for core board, for board games. I think they're cutting corners, making it cheaper, keeping the prices consistent, because, you know, most Americans, they don't know. As good as the Chinese are nowadays compared to 15, 20 years ago, where if you didn't specify everything exactly the way it should be, they try to cut corners. Now they're very savvy. They're businessmen. They own their own businesses. They're about as more capitalistic than we are. And they know with the internet, bad quality will spread like wildfire, and it makes or breaks their businesses. If they put out good quality, other publishers see it, they get more business, their business. So they all try. But this is not their fault. This is their raw materials they're getting. So we get this. German, look at this. Nothing. Flat. Flat to a T. Now look at this one here. So they sent us, earlier this week, again, a 1.5 mil. These are 2 mil. Look at this 1.5 mil, how it came up and down. Now they sent us this so that we could see before, after. Before, after. So, I have great hope with this because what they've done now is they've taken 3 layers of paper and gone in different directions, like plywood. So now you have 1 direction, 2 direction, 3 direction. I would have even liked one going in this direction, but they didn't do that. So now we have this, and also they used a lot more chip fiber in it than continuous fiber. Now, what does that mean? It means that it would be a little more, not as stiff, but at 1.5 mil, these are stiff boards, and they really, look at the difference. Now, are they as good as the Germans? No. I can still see here, here's probably 0.5 millimeter of curl up coming up. This side, nothing, nothing, nothing. Little 0.5 millimeter. That could be maybe because maybe we hit it and bent it. This one here is a 2 millimeter. And again, pretty nice. Now, also note, thicker boards tend to warp a little more in solid sheeted core board. So be very careful. Most people think the thinner will not lay as flat and the stiffer, and it will lay flatter. No, it's exact opposite. Usually a lightly thinner board will lay flatter and also find its center better than the thicker, okay? The last thing is drying. When we dry our boards are stacked, and just pretend these are bigger stacks. They're stacked on a pallet. You know, as big and much room as I have in my office, you never have enough room. So we stack them like this, and we have a minimum 3-day drying time in a 17 to 20 humidity maximum room. So if your company, your printing company, says that they don't really need to dry, they do it, BS. And you cannot, like most of them do, stack them tight like this because the air's not getting in. You have to have them stack them with an opening in the middle so that they're getting maximum drying time. 3 days minimum. And they will tell you then also what goal, depending on the paper they have, what goal of dryness you want. The last thing, do not go with wet coating. Go with hot glue. Hot glue instead of wet glue. A lot of them are still using the old wet glue. Glue with water goes on. It's cheap. It's easy to work with, goes on. But all that moisture from the glue goes into your paper, gives you problems. Hot glue goes on, boom, it cools, and it's dry. So talk to your printers about this, but most of them will say, yes, we have drying rooms. When I was in China last year, we went through 5 manufacturing places. 1 had a drying room. 1 had a drying room. The rest brought me into rooms, their drying rooms, which was, one was a utility closet with tiles missing out of the ceiling and one old just dehumidifier that didn't hardly work. Dirty as hell. You couldn't get even a pallet through the door. And I looked at him and said, you know what? I'm insulted that you're trying to be dishonest with me because you know and I know this is not a drying room. Talk to them, say, you want pictures of the drying room. If you have a chance to travel over, let them know ahead of time. They better have a drying room. Companies like Major and all that, they didn't have one, but because of us, they're putting drying rooms in. Magicraft putting drying rooms in. I'm told in Watts Games, put a drying room in. These are all newer factories where they actually have big double doors, a lot of space to bring all printing in on a cycling time to dry. But it's nothing is guaranteed, so you really have to be on top of it. So if any of you have any questions, I hope this helped. For the Storm to Steel people who've been waiting, we've decided with the Storm to Steel, we're going to pay, in Germany, making the boards cost us roughly 90% more to print than out of China, but we're having them made in Germany. I'm not risking it. They're printing it, pushing them through for us in January. We're going to ship them. Containers from Germany to China are a lot cheaper because there's so many empty ones going back compared to going to Germany. And it takes about 3.5, 4 weeks to get to China, but during the New Year's festival, they'll be on the ocean. When New Year's festivals are over, mid to end of February, we'll have our boards in. They can pack it, get it all out. The Awakening Bear that we're doing 3rd edition at the same time, that is going to be a much smaller run, and I'm going with the 2 mil boards here. I'm very happy with them. This is probably some of the best quality that I've seen coming out of China in a while. Why he tried to push this crap on me, And why all his other customers are accepting it, he knows better now, because I'm very open about it. And internet is the death or bonus for companies. So companies like Magicraft, they're very on top of it now with us, very happy with this. Watts Games, we've had no problems with those either. So both companies doing very well. If you want to know where we're getting our plastic cards, send us an email or let us know on YouTube. We'll get in contact with you privately. I don't like putting it out online. Some of the companies that we did not like, I will not post those online. I'll let other publishers know so it helps them. But I hope that this little talk helped. Sorry it went so long, and I wish everyone a very, very good 2019. And thanks to all our fans for being patient with our Storm of Steel. As I said, the games were done. The dice, the cards, the inserts, everything was done in November. They sent us the final printed proofs, and they had to throw a lot of money away. Hopefully they at least break even, but even better, I think they learned a good lesson, which will help them in the long run. Thanks a lot to Wie Gehts and Jim. Jim, you should come on camera one of these days. And I wish everybody a good 2019. Thank you.